Good morning, everybody. How are you this morning? It's going to be a great day. I haven't been out yet. What's today? Thursday, Friday. Guess what? It's Friday. Why did I have to stop and think about that? Well, I've been diagnosed with having Alzheimer's. My brain is shrinking. And the specialist tells me in a few years' time I'm going to become a vegetable. I'll be in La La Land. So I haven't got much time. I'm writing my life story online. I've called it True Stories in the Life of Ronnie B. And when I say true stories, I tell it like it is. I tell it exactly like it is. And because of that, I upset people. People don't like to hear the truth. I've upset my daughter, my oldest daughter Kerry. She doesn't want me talking about her and her family online. So I've upset some people because I'm telling the truth. I'm telling about my life. Just a quick story about that. There's a bloke in Timaru called, there was a man, he's dead now, but his name was Sandy. I won't tell you his surname because that'd be cruel. He was Sandy, and he'd been overseas, Sandy, in the war, and fought in the war, but he didn't shoot anybody. He was in the medical corps, looked after, and when they brought the bodies in, he would cut their uniforms off them and hand them over to the surgeon to sew them up. But he never got a medal, Sandy. No, when he came home, he never got a medal. But he had some good gardens, had some very good gardens, and he won a lot of competitions in gardening, you see. So I wrote his story, and I said to Sandy, and I was asking him the questions, and he told me about these gardens, and I said, now where are the ribbons? He said, they're in the rubbish. I put them in there yesterday. So we went out to the rubbish, and we got these ribbons, you see, these rosettes that he'd won. And I took a photo of them, and I took a photo of him and his wife, and we wrote the story about Sandy, you see. And one of the guys he worked for was a fellow by the name of Morton in Timaru, Gerald Morton. And I rang Gerald and I said, listen, I've written Sandy's story. Sandy worked for you for 20 years, and I thought you might like to make a donation so we can publish the story. And he said, no, not interested. He said, we owe the man nothing. And he wouldn't give me a donation. So then I rang his son and said, listen, I've written your father's story, Brownie. Would you like to give us a donation so I can publish it and tell the world about it? No, he said, I haven't spoken to Dad. I hadn't spoken to my father for 20 years, I think he said. It was a long time anyway. And then later on he rang me up when he heard that I'd written the story, and he wanted to buy it off me for about $100. No, it wasn't $100, about $10 I think he offered. I wanted $100 for it, but he wanted to give me $10 for his father's story. Now, did you notice something about that story as I told it? I'll tell you what it struck me. I said at the beginning I wasn't going to tell you, wasn't going to identify the person I was talking about. But as I got into the story and I started thinking about the names of the people, it just came out as part of my story. So I'm telling true life stories of Ronnie B. That means I'm telling the names of the people. You can't say a man, I know a man who did this. It has no credibility. The man's name was Sandy Brown. A great guy, wonderful guy. He died. He was 95 or 96 or something when I wrote his story. And he died. And his wife both did. But I've written his story. It's in a book. Just a minute, I'll go and get it. Good morning, folks. How are you this morning? Isn't it a great day? Oh, gee, look at this. 4:30 in the morning. I'm going to get a growling because I'm out of bed too early. I'm supposed to be sleeping. My psychiatrist says you got to sleep at night. My daughter says I got to sleep at night. I'm not allowed to sleep during the day. I got to sleep at night. Oh, I got all these bloody rules that people are giving me. But anyway, I'm up and I'm writing my life story. I'm writing my life story online. My name's Ronald Edward Bishop. I was born in Hamilton, New Zealand. And I'm not writing my story in a book. I'm doing it on video. Probably the first man ever in the world to ever write his story on video. And I do it every day. I come online and I say something. I speak about things. And I speak about my family. And I upset my family because I talk true stories. You see, it's called True Stories in the Life of Ronnie B. I don't hide anything. I tell everything like it is. I use people's names. I don't say this person did this or this. I give the name of the person who did, you see. And some people get upset. They don't like it. They don't like the truth. But that's the way it is. I've written a book. In fact, I've written several books. But I haven't published many copies of them because haven't been able to get any funding. This one's called The Best Kept Secrets in South Canterbury. And on the front cover we have a 102-year-old lady, and she told me her life story. Inside here there are 12 people I've written about, autobiographies of Canterbury pioneers and unsung heroes. Up here I've written a little Our Gift to You, and it says this: "It is with pleasure that we leave to the people of New Zealand the last memories of our lives. We recommend that the contents of the photo news books be used for the education of people of all ages and the promotion of New Zealand while recording its history." My journey thus far. My journey thus far. So sit back as I tell you the story of a very, very good man, a great man. Here's his story. My name is Alexander Smith Brown and my friends all called me Sandy. I was born on the 15th of October 1917 in Bearsden, Scotland, and today, in October 2008, I am 92 years of age. My parents' names were William and Dallas Brown, and my mother's maiden name was Watt. My brothers and sisters' names were Mary, Ann, Jean, Alice, Robert and William, and I am the only surviving member of my family. I was just 2 years old when my parents came from Scotland on the ship Otarama, and we landed in Wellington. I went to the Western Primary School and the Oamaru Tech School, where I took a secretarial course. I left school at age 16 and worked on a Clydesdale draft to a stud farm owned by James Smith at Cowrie Hill. After 2 years I moved into town and worked for a grocery store called Adam Mackay by the monument in Oamaru. Just a minute, I'll take a breather. Sorry about that, folks. Our doctor's got me on a new pill and makes my mouth very dry. So I had to have a stop and have a drink. Okay, where are we up to? We're talking about Sandy Brown. When war broke out, I was turned down for the infantry, so I went to Trentham and trained for the medical division and was accepted. I received no injuries myself, but I saw the worst part of the war by attending to the wounded. When I returned from the war, I married Ivy Gibson on the 5th of October 1946 at the Presbyterian Church in Weston, and we have been happily married for 62 years. We have 2 boys, Bruce and Robert. Lou Canning owned the Star Stores grocery shop in Stafford Street next to Timaru. Sorry, I'll read that again. We have 2 boys, Bruce and Robert. Lou Canning owned the Star Stores grocery shop in Stafford Street, Timaru, next door to Fraser's Jewellers, and I was there for 7 years. I then took a job for 12 months with Bruce Biscuits Factory in High Street. They made ginger nut, super wine and water biscuits. My job was to assist the truck driver, Mr. Wyatt, with deliveries to the shop and offices. Mr. Wyatt made me load extra tins of biscuits and he would deliver them free to all his mates. I then went to work for Arch Pulley's grocer shop at Luxton Road and I was there for 3 years. The government ran ballots for returned servicemen, and I won a ballot for a grocer shop. In 1955 we built our shop on Selwyn Street, as did Freda Ashton Drapery. Wynne Russell Cake Shop, Dennis Lee Bookshop, the 4 shops are still there today, but with different businesses, except for our grocer shop. We built a new home at 279 Selwyn Street, and we sold the shop in 1967. I then got a job at the New Zealand Insulators as a costing clerk for 1 year. Our son Bruce had just started work at the Timaru Herald, and our son Robert had just started Timaru Boys High School, so my wife and I then went on a world tour, and we were away for a year during seeing many countries. I wanted to go back to Scotland, where I was born. I worked at the post office in the delivery department, and I was at the Timaru Hospital as an orderly for 7 years. I then worked for the railway as a goods officer. My son Bruce worked for Morton's Auctions, and they were short-handed one day and asked me if I would help out with the handling of the cash. It was only on a Friday, which was auction day, but I worked for Morton's Auction off and on for 20 years. I played tennis until I was 78 years old, and I would often play tennis for 5 days a week. I was also a keen harrier and was chosen to run for the British Army during the war. On the 3rd of October 1945 I came second in the 3 miles at the Māori Athletic Sports Club, and I also won a gold medal for the teams event. In Timaru I won several harrier events, the Nori Cup and the South Canterbury Presbyterian and Methodist Championships. My wife Ivy and I were both keen gardeners, and over a 55-year period we won several competitions with our vegetable and flower garden both in Selwyn Street and Hopkins Street. I have loved every minute of my life. I've always eaten plenty of good fruit and vegetables, and my wife Ivy and I have lived in the Mountain View Retirement Village for over 10 years, and we no longer move around as well as we used to, so we are planning to move into the Croft home. This is the flower garden of Sandy and Ivy Brown, what they won in the competition. Over here are the rosettes, the ones I took out of the rubbish bin, and we took a photo of them, and there it is. Best Flower Garden, Sandy and Ivy Brown, 50 Hopkins Street, Timaru, February 1993. I'm going to be reading from that book. I'm going to tell you the stories. There's some interesting stories in there by people. Most of these people are all in their 90s, by the way. And I wrote their life stories, and it's very interesting. So I'm going to read them out to you over a period of time, because each day I come online, and I'm telling my life story. Now, these books are part of my life story. It's part of what I did, okay? And I'm going to be talking about lots of stuff. I'm going to be talking about my family. Now, I know some of my family don't want me to talk about them, but I'm going to be talking about them because they're part of my life. I can't tell my life story if I don't tell about my family. So there's lots of things I've got to talk about, but I'm going to leave you today. I'm going to leave you with these thoughts. The greatest gift that you can ever leave anybody is your story, your life story. You see, I've got prostate cancer. I don't know whether they've got it all or not, but I hope they have. The other thing is I've just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. My brain has shrunk, and if it continues to shrink, I will lose my memory completely and become a vegetable. So I'm writing. It makes the urgency of writing my story more important. Because when I die, it'll be there for my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and hopefully for history of New Zealand. Because what have happened in my life has been amazing, really. I even can't believe how I've got through some of the stuff I've had to get through. Okay, so I'm going to leave you now, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Now, don't forget, every day, come online, timarudirectory.co.nz/news. Okay? Bye-bye.